Let's be real. Every single day, we are just bombarded with noise. You've got news, you've got data, you've got social media. It's just a lot. But what if you could cut through all that static and find the actual signal? What if we could peek at the world's real to-do list? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're decoding the last 24 hours to see what the world is really working on and what that tells us about where we're headed. So, if we could pull up the planet's collective calendar, what would it actually say? I can guarantee you it's not solve world peace. More often than not, it's the small, fundamental tasks, the stuff that never makes the headlines but is absolutely essential to keeping the lights on and the world turning. And when you look closely, all that activity kind of clusters around three big themes. First, there's the physical stuff, just building and maintaining the world around us. Then you've got the abstract stuff, writing the new rules for how we're all going to live and work. And finally, there's the defensive part, managing all the brand new risks that come with making progress. So let's dive into that first one. All right, first up is the work that isn't glamorous at all, but I'm telling you, without it, everything just falls apart. This is the nuts and bolts of civilization. We're talking procurement, logistics, infrastructure. It's the daily grind that keeps society functioning, and it's where a ton of money is actually being spent. Okay. This might be the most important slide we look at all day, precisely because it is so incredibly boring. Emergency replace chillers. I mean, this is never going to be a headline, but this is the absolute bedrock of a functioning society. Things break, you have to fix them. This little procurement order is reality in its purest, most unvarnished form. And it keeps going. Fire extinguisher inspection service. Again, not exactly thrilling, is it? But this is that invisible layer of work that prevents disasters. This is the thin line between a minor hiccup and a full-blown catastrophe. We can zoom in even further, right down to the atomic level of just keeping things running. A gear spur, a piston ring, a tow bar clevis. These tiny, super specific parts are what stand between a billion-dollar piece of military hardware working or not. This is what operational readiness actually looks like on the ground. And here's the other end of that spectrum. We go from a single tiny piston ring all the way up to a $13 billion military logistics contract. It's the exact same work, maintaining reality. It's just happening at both the microscopic and the, macroeconomic level at the same time. And hey, this isn't just a US thing, it's global. In the last 24 hours, Nigeria was buying transformers to keep its power grid stable. The UK was upgrading substations and washrooms in its hospitals. India was buying 2 million barrels of oil to ensure its energy security. The specific task changes, but the job is the same. Everybody, everywhere, is just building and maintaining. Okay, so once you've built the physical world, you have to write the rules for how to live in it. And that brings us to our second theme. As technology just rockets forward, we are in this constant scramble to create the laws and policies to manage it all. A perfect example is this new robotaxi law in New York. The state just legalized autonomous vehicles, a massive opportunity for the industry. But buried in the fine print, they excluded New York City, the single biggest market in the country. So in one move, they've both hit the gas and slammed on the brakes for an entire industry. And this is happening everywhere. Right now, Google is fighting lawsuits over how its AI search works. There's a huge legal war brewing over who actually owns your health data. India is pushing back on the 10-minute delivery craze, and the UK just backed away from a mandatory national digital ID. These are the battlegrounds where the rules for our digital lives are being decided. And one of the most important new rule books is for something called compute policy. Think of it this way. In the old world, you controlled trade by controlling shipping lanes. In the new world, you control progress by controlling who gets access to the most advanced AI chips. It's basically a 21st century naval blockade, and it is a massive source of geopolitical power. And here it is in action. The US just gave the green light for NVIDIA to sell some of its advanced AI chips to China. Now, this isn't just a trade deal, no way. This is a calculated strategic move that directly impacts how quickly China can advance its own AI, which, could shift the global balance of power for decades to come. So we're building the physical world and we're writing the rules for the digital one. Our third theme is all about defending both. It's that constant background hum of managing all the complex risks that just come with living in a more connected and complicated world. Just look at this. This is a snapshot from a single security update from a single company, Microsoft. They fixed 114 vulnerabilities. 2 of them were already public knowledge. And one was already being actively used by hackers to break into systems.
This is the scale of the invisible war being fought every single day on corporate networks.
And sometimes a single tiny crack can threaten the entire foundation. A vulnerability was just discovered in something called Node.js, which is a piece of code that, just happens to run a huge chunk of the internet. It was described as impacting virtually every production app. That's how fragile our digital world can be. One tiny flaw can put almost everything at risk.
And this idea of risk isn't just about software bugs. In the last day alone, Nigerian authorities were fighting bank fraud, the UK was rolling out new tools to stop market manipulation, and China was warning about espionage attempts to steal sensitive geographic data. The threats are financial, they're geopolitical, they're coming from everywhere.
And that brings us to maybe the biggest risk of all, the growing tension between global superpowers. This slide tells the entire story in just 2 numbers. China's trade surplus with the world is at a record high, but its exports to the US are falling off a cliff. This is what economic decoupling looks like in real time, and it is reshaping the entire global economy.
So we have these 3 big themes: building, writing rules, and managing risk. But here is the key, and this is the most interesting part. They are not happening in isolation. The real magic happens when they crash into each other, and you see what new things emerge from those collisions.
Take this as an example. We know that AI is incredibly power-hungry. At the same time, we see the UK spending billions to build out offshore wind farms. Now connect those 2 dots. Suddenly, that wind farm isn't just about green energy. It's about securing a strategic advantage in the AI race. Abundant, cheap power is the new high ground. Or look at healthcare. AI is flooding into this space. We've got new tools to read medical records and millions of people asking AI for health advice every week. But this puts it on a direct collision course with our other themes. Those new rules for data access are being hammered out in court right now, which creates both huge risks and massive opportunities. And, if you really want to know where the future is headed, all you have to do is follow the money. Meta is cutting jobs in its VR division and is shifting that investment straight into AI and data centers. That's a huge signal about where one of the world's most powerful companies believes the future is. So here's the big takeaway. That mundane act of replacing a chiller part, that complex fight over a new law, and that constant, invisible battle against cyber threats, these are not separate stories. They're all interconnected threats, and they are weaving together the foundation of our future right before our eyes. And that leaves us with one final question. As all this background noise, all this maintenance, and all these rules, and all these risks, as it all solidifies into our future reality, which of these quiet signals from today will be the one that ends up shouting the loudest tomorrow?